Well, I see you're up to no good again. Making new charts and everything else to expose things. She just won't quit. So, what do you have for us today? What is the new subject?
Well, it's a particular weapon that specialized armories have. Maybe.
I don't know what that is.
Me either.
I'm a pacifist.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
I just draw and sketch.
Right.
And
Just a side hobby and all that stuff.
right.
Yeah. Anyhow, what do you have?
A chart. How does
This is
it
another
look?
one of her charts. I'll have to go behind the camera here and zoom in on some of this stuff. But just give us basically an idea of what this is about.
This is called the ticking Lammy bomb. You'll understand why if you understand certain things. You have a diagram of a old school bombshell. That's
Okay.
showing.
She goes really old school. She doesn't even have like a ticking, like the timer and things like the dynamite. She goes actually back to the old, like cannonball the wick out of it, the black powder thing. So, she's out of touch, you know. Just terrible, isn't it? But let me get behind the camera here so I can actually zoom in on things. Okay, so what do we have up here? The
Roman Catholic Eucharist. The community service, as they say, meaning Eucharist. But you also have the MSOS term Brit Olam. Lammy bomb. O ring bomb. Olam.
okay. And what is
Covenant
that?
with the world is the foundation for this
And what
whole.
is the flag thing about there? What's that symbol?
Well, you have the sepulcher of the Jerusalem.
No, Knights of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yes,
The Equestrian Order.
this is their flag.
Okay.
And then
Why
you
would there be a rainbow thing attached to it? Come on here. What are you trying to say?
nothing. It's just the 7-colored rainbow of the Noahide laws.
Yeah, you can see that says Noahide laws there. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that is the foundational flag post for the,
Thing there for the
I forget the full
Fort
title.
of Conformity, the Roman
Yes.
Fort of Conformity there.
The RFOC. The Roman Fort of Conformity is the pathway, which is essentially the top of the staircase. And if you follow the staircase down, you dig deeper into the evil and satanic nature of this whole
Okay.
system.
I have to hurry. This thing's really getting heavy.
You have the infamous quote, "Never buck the system." As I was told many years ago, you have a lifelong history of bucking the system. That's what is meant. And through that, they try to desensitize mental illness. And see the slight hook effect of desensitize mental illness, never buck the system. They're related. And on the side, with each step, you have the Holy Office of the Inquisition, also known as the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, and also known as the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith. This is the clergy term. This is the former term, as they say. This is the laity term, the layman's term.
And this is real. She's not making that up.
Correct.
Ratzinger was actually part of that whole thing. Now where are we going next?
So the next step down,
I'll
They
spin it
give
this
you-
way so we can see it.
a psychological evaluation. In the military, it's called a command-directed psychological evaluation. And in the civilian sector, it's just psychological evaluation or mental hygiene. The military also says mental fitness. But in marketing terms, you have a 3-step process, which is coded throughout this step or staircase system, which is the blueprint of the ticking bomb concept of this whole system. The first step is desensitize someone to a particular term. Right here. Then you have step 2 in marketing evil things. Jamming, which means your opposition is silenced. And
Okay, and then we go over to here.
all these terms to go along with the second step. I was ECT'd
Then we're coming down into here.
at the age of 1. My first birthday to the day began my ECT torture from a Noahide and a bunch of Jesuits. And this also ties in, but more on that later. You also have pledges. Rush Week on college and university campuses, or pledges for different organizations. Nothing to it, I'm sure. And you also have Orthodox rabbis involved with this whole step 2,
Okay.
which is officially ticking, as I like to think of it, but tikkun, whatever, midot, meaning repair of the self. That's what all these terms mean as a group. And you have locations such as shoals, schools, Shabbos, which is a Chabad Lubavitch term, telepsychiatry, teletherapy, which is what they offered me at APG Maryland years ago as my command-directed psychological evaluation, and I refused a telepsychiatry session and a teletherapy. I preferred in person. And so God put me through that test years ago to see how I would respond to the whole thing of technology-controlled counseling. You also have target population, which is a marketing term to tie in with this. Morality, which is the corrupted version of what true morality should be. And you have assistants and helpers being part of step 2, which is ticking midot. So this is step 3, meaning repair of the world, the MSOS term for their version of repair of the world. The goal is justice. For the greater good, the public good, the common good. Remember, this is the goal. How do they achieve the goal? Conversion of the non-Jew or the Gentile. Or, if even so, an unmingled Jew would be another prize for the MSOS devils. But these are all the synonyms tied in with this system. And so you have the synonyms tied in with this whole process of converting a non-Jew, also known as a Gentile, to the MSOS system, as we discussed in the previous video. Hasidic, which is the overarching term for the Chabad Lubavitch movement. This is a subcategory for Hasidic. You have Reform Judaism, which is tied in with the Hasidic movement. MSOS, of course, tied in with the previous video. Jerusalem. That's tied in with the whole title for this entity and their mission. Mizrachi, Sanhedrin, Yiddish, CBDC, which is what they're pushing for as a means of control. Occult, again, tied in. Infrastructure. Talmud Torahs, that's one of their terms. The Antichrist, my emphasis showing that there's a difference between what the King James Bible discusses between antichrists versus the Antichrist discussed with the Mark of the Beast. Technology, Mark of the Beast, Hereti, Orthodox, which these are tied in. Religious segment, again, ties in with this whole thing. This term, shlichum, I guess, emissaries, is essentially what this means. Third temple construction, which is basically what the Noahides will be doing in the future. And they will help to construct the third temple for the Antichrist and the Mark of the Beast system. The narrative and marketing, they're tied in together. Congregation, that's actually a MSOS term, but it's used by so-called churches. Nothing to it, I'm sure. Synagogues, again, an MSOS term for the purpose of this whole ticking bomb, so to speak, system. But when synagogues are no longer used after the MSOS are kicked out of a country, the synagogues become church buildings. They are renamed as churches. You have Campus Hillel on colleges and universities tied in with certain foods. Menorah, another traditional symbol of MSOS that they steal from the real Jews. B'nai Noah, children of Israel. Rambam, that's another synonym for Noahides and Maimonides. Finance, polytheism, yoga, subsidies. Welfare, climate crisis, economic justice. See how these relate? Racial justice, meaning white passing, and seed mingling, both in terms of crops and mingling people's seed as a form of racial justice. Ethnic seed mingling. Social obligations. Have you ever heard someone say, we'll lose our social standing in the community? That's what Noahides say. Kosher, that's on pretty much every product from the grocery store I'm aware of. There might be a few I'm missing, but this is the Orthodox Union symbol. Kosher means acceptable in the MSOS Devil's terms. Shriners, Shriners International. Commerce, which ties in with trade and mercantilism and merchants. Mizpah ties in with this whole thing. Swedenborgian and Lehite are synonyms for each other, but also part of the Noahide system. Halakha, meaning Jewish law. Catholic Mass is tied in, as I will explain later. Pilgrimages, denominations. This is one of the MSOS terms, but yet you hear of church denominations? Strange. Retreats. Catholic retreat centers, Jesuit retreat centers, and then you have retreats tied in with Mizpah and other things on this chart. National defense or national security. There's a deep implication and meaning to the term national security. And LARP, live action role playing, which is basically synonymous with all these other terms. The entertainment economy, the casino-based system of everything the MSOS devils do.
So basically, she was putting this together partly to teach Oliver this kind of our homeschooling type of a thing. And we're looking at this and I said, you know what, we should probably just make a video about that. And because we're trying to help Oliver to understand how everything ties together. A lot of this might seemingly seem like it's not connected, but when you understand the whole thing of the end times, the time of Jacob's trouble, the synagogue of Satan, again, we don't hate Jewish people. Make that very plain. The seed of Abraham, the true seed of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their seed. We're not against them, okay? The true Jews, not against them. The synagogue of Satan will steal terms from the scriptures, like congregation, synagogue, but they'll twist it. They tweak it. And so, and if you don't know, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is in Jerusalem, right there. And I think Pete Hegseth, the current Secretary of Defense, has that tattooed on his chest or something, a big tattoo of that on his chest. And the rainbow thing is one of the signs of the Noahide system. If you don't understand the Noahide system, you should watch my video on that. It's very important. They're going to be cutting people's heads off in the future. Understand, the Jews in the end times are very much persecuted, but it's people who call themselves Jews, and they're not. They're the ones doing the persecution. They are the ones that are building this one world system because they're trying to take the kingdom from Jesus Christ. And so they put all this stuff together into their system as lures, basically, ways that they can ensnare people and get people into this whole thing. And so, continue. I just wanted to make that point very clear here.
And as far as the rainbow is concerned, the sodomite rainbow, I think, is 6 colors, and the Noahide laws is symbolized by a 7-color rainbow. More on that later. But, isn't that rather strange? Sodomites use 6 colors, but the Noahide laws use 7 colors?
7 Noahide laws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nothing to it. But, this should, make you rather curious about all the terminology you see in society and around the world. Things that seem to be innocent are not innocent. And national defense or security. Well, think of the agency, NSA, National Security Agency. What do you think they're saying with that acronym or title of the entity? Well, they securitize everything they can get their hands on. Anything that will make the MSOS devils money, they will securitize. Slabs for students attending college or university. Ties in with national security. LARP actually ties into this whole thing. How? Because live action role playing. It seems as if it's a good thing for people to study in terms of historical reenactment, and to a certain extent it is. But then you have people corrupting that and saying, well, we're actually going to turn it into a Hollywood television type of propaganda. So they're destroying the whole concept of LARP being used to remind people of traditional culture type of concepts.
Well, I agree somewhat, but don't try to make it into a thing where they're trying to rewrite history, because that just wouldn't be true at all.
Right. They would never do that.
Excuse me. A little cough there.
I hope you're right.
I think I might be.
But see, these are all synonyms for how they want to convert non-Jews, Gentiles, into the Noahide system. That is why it is called a ticking lammy bomb. See? Olam, L-A-M, lamb. Olam, L-A-M. So hopefully you understand the purpose of drawing it this way.
And it's funny because I noticed that the Talmud, just have to throw this in there, a lot of times just says non-Jews. They don't say Gentiles, because a lot of the people that profess to be Jews right now are Gentiles. So the synagogues, excuse me. So what else do you have here on this this chart?
Troublemaking? I am innocent. Come on.
I know. I'm sorry.
College dropouts can't possibly make trouble. We're too dumb to make trouble.
Yeah. If you don't know my wife's testimony, by the way, she was in 2 branches of the military and in several universities, and asking the wrong questions, it doesn't go very well. So she got out of all those different systems and things. She's not current active duty in the CIA or into witchcraft or some of the liars put out there about her. That's ridiculous. She got saved. She's no longer part of the things that she was before. Okay? So I know she has a lot of knowledge, but it's because she studies. All right? And a lot of this study, like I said, this is to teach our son. This is homeschooling curriculum, so to speak. We write our own. All right? We don't go with some Christian publication things that uses new versions or something like that. And because we're not officially recognized by the state, and our son was born at home, if you don't know that, I delivered him. And so there's no connection with him to the state. So the government doesn't come and knock on our door and what are you teaching your son and whatever. They have no right to him. So he's a free man.
And by the way, state regulation of homeschooling efforts ties in with what I term as casino public law. That's for a future study, but the gist of public law is tied in with this entertainment economy. And as somebody I talked to earlier this year very wisely told me about the casino type of similarities with this whole system.
And again, a casino, how, come on, what, really? It's called speculation,
Yes.
okay? When you invest in the stock market, you are doing speculative gambling with your money. It's, it might sound, what, come on, Wall Street, gambling, casino, there's nothing in common. Oh, yes, there is. There's a lot in common. And, they will regularly do gambles and things. Marketing is, somewhat of a gamble because you're trying to see how much can we deceive people and get by with products that will thrift as time goes by and make them cheaper and yet get the people to continue to buy them and, made in China, excuse me. But anyhow, so what else do we have here? Anything else to say on it?
Yoga. I tried that one time many years ago as a teenager or after high school graduation because I thought it's a form of stretching, before a workout. And I watched a tutorial video on some of these yoga moves and I thought, this is weird. There's something strange about this yoga thing I'm watching. Alright, it's a type of stretching routine before and after a workout, but thankfully the Lord showed me there's a reason why I felt really odd about what they were talking about with this tutorial VHS video at the time that I saw about a yoga stretching program. And yoga ties in with this whole thing. It's a channel, in my opinion, into this satanic spirituality that the Noahide system is part of, and the Roman Catholic Church is part of, and all this other stuff. It's tied in with the occult too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't need to continue researching that because all the different things that I had done, all the mistakes I had made over the years, is because of my research into how to get away from extremely manipulative Noahides. I have many years of experience dealing with that type of person. And my efforts to research how can I don't know what to say about
Right.
the word.
Well, but understand, let's just make the Noahide system very basic here. Okay, what is Noahidism? Noahidism is a system of self-righteousness. That according to their own system, it's certain laws that God has given to all people, to non-Jews in other words, and God expects you to live by those Noahide laws. So then you are earning your salvation through your own righteousness. That's exactly what it is. So when you meet people that are into the Noahide system, they are extremely, extremely self-righteous. And they don't care about Jesus Christ, and they'll scoff at the perfection of Jesus Christ and that his righteousness and whatever, Whereas when you realize that you're a sinner and you realize, hey, I've messed up my life, and I realize that Jesus died on the cross to pay for sinners. Wow, and his righteousness can be imputed to me. In other words, the payment for sin, Jesus Christ took it on himself on the cross when he died and he shed his precious blood. That's true biblical salvation. It's not your righteousness, it's the righteousness of Jesus Christ imputed to you. It's given to you. Without all these good deeds down here and proper connections to the things of stepping up the ladder to success so you can get up here. And the Knights of the Equestrian Order thing, to get into that, oh man, I forget what kind of money is involved in that, and you have to make pilgrimages to Jerusalem and everything else. Mm-hmm. I don't need to make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem and see where Jesus died and all the other stuff. I don't need to go there. Mm-hmm. Okay, salvation is available right where you're at.
And see, the reason why this chart was drawn with the steps getting worse as you go down the staircase is simply because the MSOS love to build underground tunnels, as it's acronymed DUMB, Deep Underground Military Bases. Mm-hmm. Okay? They love to tunnel. There are many tunnels under New York City. And so, yes, you can point to your ensign with the Sepulchre of Jerusalem. That's my shortened version of the official title for the entity, right here at the top of the staircase. But you step down into the start of the tunnel where all this stuff is, and you reach the ticking olam to repair the world is the ultimate goal. But so it's kind of my way to symbolize the mindset of these Emsos devils.
Yeah, Emsos, of course, is mingled synagogue of Satan. If we haven't said that already. But they actually have a video where a woman in Jerusalem, a Jewish woman, showed underneath the temple, the Mosque of Omar, that whole thing there. It's not really the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount's actually in the city of David. It's not there. It's actually Fort Antonia. It's a Roman Catholic fort. Well, Roman fort, if you go back to the 1st century. It's not where the temple was, but you see the fifth kingdom there, the Jews and the Catholics working together. But this woman went down underneath there, and she showed that every year they have this huge Masonic meeting down underneath that, in Fort Antonia there, down underneath that. And what are they trying to do? All this stuff in here, all this stuff up there, and whatever else. But you read the book of Revelation, chapter 6, they're actually going into under the mountains and calling for the rocks to hide them from the face of the Lamb. So, very interesting. And Jesus Christ said, men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. Their deeds are evil. See?
And another thing is, all my life I've been a reserved type of person. And so in the past, I said a wrong term to describe one of the things I went through. And the more I study that term, I realize now that because of my memory becoming clearer now about the whole situation, when you're told by a person from the system or a mingled Jew, MSOS type of person, that you have a lifelong history of buck in the system, and they say, I don't understand you, then that means they can't buy you off, they can't entice you with selling yourself, if you know what I mean, which I never did, and by their admission of not being able to understand you, it means they can't understand what you're trying to do because of the high level of head games you're playing with them. Not to mention being told by a Jesuit professor who got his degree from Boston College, which is a Jesuit school, and he was a lawyer for State Street and Deutsche Bank over the years. And so in my testimony when I said I know how to make a Jesuit scream, he literally said, "What do you want from me?" So that's my point. Yes, I was a good girl, and I tried to be a good girl, but I kept getting pushed into all this satanic stuff by a Noahide who would not take no as an answer. And, people who sell themselves have no conviction, because I felt every single time a Shriner, or Colonel, I should say, would leave, I felt as if the spiritual realm was backing off from attacking me. But when he was around, I felt this almost boa constrictor effect, spiritually speaking, where I thought, I don't know how to get rid of this person. And so that's another sign. If you feel really off about somebody spiritually because you can tell they're trying to control you spiritually, I don't know how else to say it, then that's different than someone who's willingly going into the system and saying, sure, whatever it takes for money. I've never been that way. And this is why they have tried so hard. And this is why I have spent a lifetime of researching and studying their system to say, oh really, I'm supposed to get a college degree? All right, let me go to every single school to see if there's anything good about it. Oh, that's right, nothing is good about the college and university system. And the thing about, oh, you have to have a job, from what I was told by this Noahide person who would not take no as an answer. And so I tried every single aspect, private industry and the military, 2 branches of the military. And this is why all my mistakes were based on, okay, research and development. you want me to try to get a job, then I'll try as many job fields and sectors and industries as possible, just as part of my research and development plan to say, there is nothing good about the MSOS system. They will always attack and destroy traditional culture, because all my life what I really wanted was to just be a person staying on the property, helping out my family, and actually do things in a more, what's the word that goes with traditional culture? You know, I've always enjoyed the outdoors and animals, and you can't respect God's creation if you're trying to destroy what he made through seed mingling of different plants and animals, and destroying God's creation through mingling people's seed. You can't respect and show that you want truth in your life if you're constantly trying to destroy everything that God has created. Because the Bible talks about we are made for his pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing the verse.
For that pleasure, they are and were created. Book of Revelation. Can I put the chart down?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying
My eyes
to.
are killing me. I'm standing here going, okay. But if you don't know, if you haven't seen my wife's testimony, she was in a lot of different things, including being trained by the FBI, 2 branches of the military,
Lockheed Martin.
armed security police officer.
Armed SPO.
Yeah,
Special police officer.
special police officer, not security. Sorry. But yeah, she was in different, lots of different universities, met with different Jesuit professors. And I know then, the conspiracy people out there are saying, that's why she knows so much. She's still part of the system. Okay, then how are we helping the system out?
And if I was...
Well, go ahead. You finish what you were going to say.
Well, I just wanted to say, if I was still part of the system, then why have they not beaten my doors in, as they've done to people who have left their system?
Whistleblowers, they destroy them and whatever else. The reason we're still around is because we have the protection of the Lord Jesus Christ. So, to all those wicked people out there. We're not really even a threat to them, honestly, because the truth that we speak and whatever is not accepted by the vast majority of people. Turn towards the camera. There you go. So, not very professional, are you?
Terrible.
Had such a future in television. She actually had that offer too, by the way. The one guy offered her to get into television type of stuff, whatever. So as a reporter. So I have a very interesting wife. But if you haven't heard her testimony, you can listen to that. But what is the point of all of this, other than just what my wife is making for our son, so she can explain the whole system to him? This world is a trap. Okay, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. Okay, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ should shine unto them. Satan blinds people, and they get into this system, and most people don't ever come out of the system. But my wife is a testimony to being able to go into the system, be born into it. Things were, this electroconvulsive therapy stuff was being done to her when she was 1 year old.
It began on my first birthday.
Yeah, which is really bizarre. And it was the Jesuits at Creighton University that were doing it. So she's been through a lot. And so she has really deep understanding of things. And there are times she says things to me that just, like a, F-16 going right over my head. It was right over past me. And, I just think, I don't know. There's not like connection. And then later on I think, no, I never thought about that. And so it's been very challenging being married to somebody like this, because she's got such levels of insight. And a lot of that insight, people say, where do you find this stuff? Whatever. Right here. And she is another living proof that Jesus Christ not only can save you, but he can protect you. And if you're out there and you're in Silicon Valley or you're in the military, industrial complex, intelligence, military intelligence, Freemason, Jesuit, whatever, my wife can be an example to you that you can leave your system, you can get saved, and God can protect you. That's the thing that's important. Don't go to church buildings because that's just another feeder right back into the system again. All right, they'll mess you up badly. She went to different church buildings early on when she was really asking questions about salvation. They were trying to mess her up. Oh, we can get you, there's young guys here we can marry you to and whatever else. And we can get you a good job and we'll get you a place to stay till you get a good job. And, they wanted to take her right back in. Church buildings are catch nets for the intelligence community. And I'm not just saying that, oh, come on. I'm saying that. It's the truth. All right. They are 501c3 government corporations. They fly the military ensign, the American flag with the gold fringe. Okay, they're government buildings. Stay away from church buildings. And trying to find proper doctrine is extremely dangerous and extremely difficult. It took me years. I'm still not, I just have to say this, I'm still not completely out of the mind control that I was put through throughout my life growing up in churches. I still have the thing of soul winning and all the other stuff in my mind and tithing 10% and all the stuff that's just pounded into your head. And I have tried for many years now to undo the damage that has been done to the body of Christ. Because you read the book of Acts and you think, who's doing this? Where are the elders at in every city? And you're going and traveling between different groups of people that are meeting in their homes and what is this? We're very far away from what the scriptures teach. So, but you have to step outside of the system and you have to look at it as a whole and say, okay, how is this whole thing bringing in the Antichrist system? And you have to understand the mingled synagogue of Satan, the miry clay of the book of Daniel, and the Roman Catholic Church, the part iron, part miry clay. The fifth kingdom is here right now, and that chart shows a lot of how they do things and whatever else. And the ticking time bomb, so to speak, is they have a limited time to bring this stuff in.
Which is why they're always pushing time is money kind of thing, because of liquidity problems and velocity of currency.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning. Actually, we were had a big family discussion, teaching Oliver as part of this whole thing the idea of business and how that when the Federal Reserve first came out with the dollar back in 1913, the whole Federal Reserve system, the dollar was very strong, and so you could take your time with, you didn't have to work as many hours and whatever. We were talking about trucking in particular, and because he was looking at an item that's being shipped here, and he said, they picked it up at 2:00 a.m. in the morning. Why would they pick it up at 2 a.m.? Is the business open? Oh, yeah, they have to be open all the time. If you're a truck driver out there, I know we have a lot of truck drivers, leave some comments on that, how the scheduling has changed over the years and you're just being pushed and pushed so hard. Why? Because the currency has inflated to the point where we have to rush so much to get things done because we're trying to prop up this phony dollar thing. Because they want to do this. And of course, Israel, you have Netanyahu that had the Rebbe or whatever, the Chabad guy, and he came out and he said that Netanyahu is going to be in when the Mashiach comes up, when it shows up. So they're trying to get their thing done, and we're trying to take over Iran, and we're trying to get all these other countries, and the strategic stuff that they're trying to do over there. And now there's so much, anger towards what Israel is doing. And again, it's the synagogue of Satan. It's not the Jewish people. It's the synagogue of Satan. Always make that difference. But people are angry about this, and so Israel's having to back up and say, okay, we'll just do a ceasefire, peace thing here, and then they have to wait for a little while, and then we'll do some kind of a false flag thing or something like that to get this thing going again. But you have to see the connections between this whole thing of marketing, liquidity, the stock market stuff, church buildings, religion, television, entertainment, all of these different things, rewriting history, all of it. And that's why you have to stick so close to the King James Bible, because that's the source of truth. It's extremely important. And so what we're trying to do, just to put it into a nutshell here, of what we're trying to do with our son, we're not shielding him from evil. in terms of, we don't want you to understand. Don't ask that question. Don't ask questions. You know, when we were growing up, we got that all the time from our parents. What are those guys in the funny little cars in the parade with the red hats on? What are they? Oh, it's just a group, you know. No, they're Shriners. And we tell Oliver, there's a shrine, you know, Shriner Lodge over there. There's a Masonic Lodge. Question. He'll say, question. What is a Masonic Lodge? What do they believe? Is it like a church or something? And we'll answer his questions. We're not just going to, oh, wow, I'll understand when you're older or something. That's a very poor way to raise your children. If your child asks truth, tell them. Okay, I had a lot better things to do. Well, not really, but I had other things I could do this morning other than spending 2 hours teaching our son. My wife has better things to do than making that chart that we showed you that's leaning up against the wall there. She has other things to do. She has other things she'd like to do. But you know what? It's important for us to teach our son. Homeschool your children. Answer their questions. Show them how the system of evil works. Show it to them. If you don't know, research it. Study it for yourself. All right? That's so important to do. And if we can educate our children, then they are going to be able to go out and disseminate that knowledge to other people. And they won't fall into a lot of the pitfalls and traps that we fell into.
Because nobody would explain anything to us.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So we're trying to undo that damage that was done there by how we were brought up. We both are products of a public school education. We were both born in a hospital. We vaccinated, the whole thing, and whatever else. So we're not judging anybody out there that's, hey, I've gone through this stuff and I'm having some problems. Well, we have problems. All right, but you don't just continue it on, well, that's the way I was raised, so that's how it is. You change it. You say, okay, our son's not going to be vaccinated. Our son's going to be born at home. Our son's going to be homeschooled. Our son's not going to go to church. All right, and we're going to tell him why. Not just don't ask questions. That's the way it is. Explain yourself.
And quite frankly, I have to wonder if there's some kind of MSOS ritual or cult, right, or something going on in hospitals, because years ago, before he died, my uncle from Nebraska, I talked to him a little bit at my grandmother's birthday party before I was deployed in early 2010, and I could tell there was a much different spirit with him because he was born at home. But for some reason, my grandmother had her last 2 children, she had 4, at the hospital. And I really have to wonder if there's some kind of a spiritual problem that's created when women have children at the hospital, or even if they have a child at the hospital, because there just seems to be a disconnect between mother and child. I can't prove it, but
that's not to say that you can't correct things.
Right.
You can't learn things. I mean, the Lord's done a lot for us and things. So
But
understand
I'm
what we're trying to say.
wondering if there's some kind of a spiritual problem, because of the hospital kind of trying to take over the original place of mother and child bonding, and the hospital says, no, we have to push this new mother into, okay, next in line, and let's get in this new person. It's an emergency, and it causes stress for the woman who's there. That's all I'm trying to say. And on top of that, I have to wonder if there's other things with some of these terms, such as pledges. I can still remember the 4-H creed, if you will, or the pledge that we would have to recite every single 4-H meeting during the year that you had to attend in order to be in good standing, essentially, in order to show at the county fair, the annual 4-H fair, so to speak. I pledge my head to clear thinking. Is that a synonym for a seared conscience where you don't think about the deeper implications of anything? I pledge my hands to greater service, my health to better living, and I'm forgetting the rest of it, but for my club, meaning fraternity, My community, possible commune. My country, is that an MSOS link? My world. And of course the infamous for God and country signature on military documents when I was forward deployed. That was literally one of the signatures that I was told to use. And I tried it a number of times and I thought, what's the meaning of this statement for God and country? Oh, you're just destroying traditional peoples, traditional cultures by, being nice to the MSOS devils. And the reason why the flag has Brit Olam and Roman Catholic Eucharist on top is because they're related. You have the MSOS concept of Brit Olam, the lamb part of the bomb chart, tied in with the Eucharist. In my opinion, and in my experience, they're synonyms for each other because they both relate to community service. So that's another link tying in the Fifth Kingdom concept to this whole chart. They're not separate. The Roman Catholic Eucharist is not a separate concept from the MSOS, Brit Olam, and taking Midot and taking Olam concept. They're tied in together very deeply. And I don't care to learn the proper pronunciation for the MSOS terms, whatever. Tikkun Olam. Who cares? Ticking Olam is what you need to know. Because these MSOS and Noahides despise being told that they will be judged. They're traumatized by it. It terrifies them. And they don't like being mocked. They don't enjoy having their names that they create for special effect to be mocked. So,
Yeah. Which is interesting. I saw a thing, somebody said that every prime minister of Israel since its inception in 1948, every prime minister has been an alias. They don't even use their real names, which is funny. Haven't checked into that, but I think it's probably too. I know Netanyahu, that's not his real name. So, Bibi. But, yeah, so again, understanding, a very important aspect of biblical Christianity is separation. You are to stay separate from the world. You're not supposed to get into the world and join in with them and all the community service and all this other stuff. So.
I've always had a chip on my shoulder about the term community service. You have to talk to certain organizations, such as JCs, if you've ever heard that term. I think it's a national organization, but in my hometown area, in western Iowa, which is the hilliest and highest elevation in the state, so I grew up in the hills, a Highlander, if you will. But I remember hearing JCs tied in with putting on the haunted house every year in my area, and I think I went once, and it's always scared me, the haunted house concept. But some people find it to be fun, and I find that to be rather disturbing. Well, JCs basically means Junior Chamber of Commerce. So again, showing the MSOS, mercantilism, commerce, trade type of link. And ultimately, the Fifth Kingdom link to the JC's organization.
And which is why the Bible says, all they that hate me love death. Be real careful around this time of the year. Driving around some of the Halloween displays that you see, you just think, okay, you people are real sick. Okay, real sick. There's one in the area here. There's some large, like, vampire guy, like 20 feet tall or something. They get you. I guess you get it from, I don't know, Walmart or some kind of place. And he's got blood coming out of the one side of his mouth, and he's like this. And there's this scarecrow, and he's got a scythe in his hands, and he's like 20 feet tall. And then they have these little witches, little black witches holding hands around cauldrons, and I just think, who puts this out? What kind of sick people? And I remember there was another one I saw years ago down actually in Pennsylvania. and there was a car, like it had been wrecked, and there was like a dead guy's hand hanging out with blood flowing out of it, and little skeletons were climbing all over the car trying to get in at the guy or something. You know, the minds of these people. We went door to door another time back in Ephrata when I was with the Baptist church, and they literally had a body on the porch of this house. We went up and knocked on their door, and the body there on the porch, it had a severed head, and they had all this fake blood poured all over the deck. I thought, yeah, I heard to tell you today about Jesus, you know. Oh, we're fine. Yeah, I can see that, you know. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, nothing wrong there. But, you know, that again, another scripture, the Bible says, love not the world, neither the things that be in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So, you know, everything that's in the world, there's connection to it. It's like a huge net that the devil gets you, and it's the snare of the devil. The Bible speaks of that as well. So a lot of these things that, like I said, you might not think that stuff's connected, but when you actually study the scriptures, and when you study and you look at how things are all coming together, you say, oh, okay, you know. So.
And speaking of Halloween and people who enjoy Halloween loving death, what's ironic, because Noahides and Jesuits, also known as Jesuits, plot to kill people, to eliminate their competition, essentially, because they both do the same thing, and they work together. And I have to wonder, is the Noahide system above entry into the Jesuit order, or is it a branch, division, or subsidiary of the Jesuit order? Because there's a lot of overlap. The secret instructions of the Jesuit order talk about not talking about essentially heretics. Don't quote me exactly because I don't have it memorized. But they also talk about trying to kill someone who's causing problems for them, essentially, in simple terms. Noahides do the same thing, because years ago, on a road trip, we were all poisoned. And I think that's rather strange. And very early this year, in 2025, I was on the phone with a Noahide, and I said the word Noahide in the course of discussion because I was asked, what do you think about President Biden's policy or something to that effect? And I said, probably a Noahide law implementation, something along those lines. And immediately, the Noahide screamed a blood-curdling scream right after I said the word Noahide. And I read the House of Representatives bill, whichever one it was, to a T, from start to finish, and the HR number saying this is how Noahide laws are implemented, essentially. And it was kind of a weird, eerie silence on the phone, because the conversation ended with the Noahide saying, I have to go. Something along those lines, because God told me what to say, essentially. And it's really made the Noahide uncomfortable. And I find that rather strange, that there's so much similarity and overlap in behavior between a Jesuit and a Noahide. Who knows if there's a difference between them other than name?
You never know.
Right.
Well, I guess that's probably about it.
As far as I know, for this chart.
Okay.
Should we show the chart one last time?
Sure. Go ahead. Free of charge, too.
The ticking Lammy bomb.
I'll make you pick it up this time. My arms are still sore.
Understand.
Different steps there, different things. And, you know, I need to say something here as far as this whole thing is concerned. There are a number of ways that you can do a ministry. And one of those ways is to hire people, to get yourself into debt, to go into all kinds of trouble, and you're being backstabbed by people. I mean, I've heard horror stories from a lot of the different places, Chick Publications, Bible Baptist Bookstore, Peter Ruckman, and a bunch of others. And they have people coming in and infiltrating, and there's all these headaches and whatever else. But you're trying to make it look professional. We try our best. We use high definition cameras. We bring stuff out and whatever. But we're never going to get to the point where we're just going to be spending a whole bunch of time just making it look perfect. Understand that about this ministry here. We are very much unconventional in how we bring things out. Could we make a copy of that and have it out on the website or some kind of thing? We're just bringing the stuff out. There's way too much stuff. And if you want to keep fighting against Satan's system, you have to be very much on the firing line. You can't spend a lot of time going and doing a lot of things. Right now, there's about several, I don't even know how many, probably 10 or 12 different books that I'd like to write. I'd like to even redo my Godhead Doctrine book, put more material into it. But finding the time is the challenge. Maybe someday I'm going to be able to do that. But right now, there's so much going on, and Satan's children are pushing really hard to get their system in. The Bible says, he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. We're supposed to hinder that Antichrist system. We're supposed to say, hey, this is how it works, and expose it and try to fight against it. That's what we're trying to do here. And so for us to say, well, could you do it a little bit better? Could you bring this out? No, we're not going to. If you want to take that information or what we're saying and put it out into your own materials or your own whatever, take the basics of what we're teaching and spread it, that's great. We don't do anything copyrighted. Okay? If somebody's going to use my videos, I simply ask, please don't change the content. If you write me and you say, hey, could I repost this or something like that? Absolutely, sure. Just don't change it. Don't, cut it up and make me look like I'm lying or something like that. Although people do that too. Whatever. I'm not going to go after them. Legal action and whatever else. I could go after a number of people with legal action easily. Not worth my time. I know how the court system works, which is also tied into that.
Yes.
We won't get into that though now, will we?
No. I'm innocent.
I am too.
That's good.
Yeah, we're innocent together. But Lord's going to take care of it. Lord's taken care of us for a very long time. And you want to know about our connections to the secret societies and whatever else. There's talk of her because she wore a dress the one time and had like Celtic, design here on the collar of it.
Celtic knot.
Yeah, Celtic knot. And it's a triquetra thing or something that proves she's into witchcraft. No, it doesn't. Okay, she's not a witch. She's not a Freemason or CIA. I'm her handler or she's my handler and mind controlled or stuff's all a bunch of nonsense. Okay, we're not part of anything except for one. Born again, Bible believing, saved by the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. We are serving him with our lives. He protects us. He keeps us safe. And he will preserve us until the time that he so chooses to either catch us up or the devil can get us. And that's just the way that it is. We don't fear man. Right? And so, closing thoughts?
Well, the biggest and most fierce enemy for the MSOS Devils is an unmingled Nordic barbarian who refuses to conform. And the reason I say that is because the term white passing, this is their term for saying, oh, we're white too. No, you're not. If you're mingled, you are raceless. Okay? And you must understand this. There are some people who say, well, I'm Irish, or I'm Scottish, or I'm, whatever sort of European nationality. If you're from Northern Europe, and you're not crossed between Roman blood and Nordic blood, then, from what I'm finding, the ancient Germans and the ancient Celts were from the same country as far back as 2000 BC. So modern day term is Irish, Scottish, Swedish, German, whatever. But they all trace back to, from what I'm finding, I have to do more study on this, Irish is tied in with Celts. Scots are tied in with Celts.
Yeah.
And Celts tie in with northwest, northeast Iran as far back as 2000 BC. So embrace your ancestral heritage. You're unmingled in the bounds of your habitation heritage. And do not be ashamed of your unmingled in bounds habitation status.
Yeah. And that's the name of the channel. Born Again Barbarian. At the time that the New Testament was written, barbarian people would have been mainly a reference to Northern Europeans. So the term white is very problematic because there are other people that can say, oh, we're white and whatever because of the color of our skin and things. Not really the right type of a thing. So, but anyhow, without going off on a whole other study on that, we're going to continue to fight for the Lord's cause, and we'll do our best to bring out the truth. So that is going to be it. As always, thank you very much for watching.